Hey, it's Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and we have an absolutely packed week coming up. We have Planet Apocalypse, which I'm about to go into now. We're going to have Dinosaur Island. We're going to have 7th Citadel, which if it doesn't hit 3 million in day one, well, quite frankly, I'll be disappointed. We have Machina Arcana. We have more and more games coming out that I am so excited about. Well, really, most of these. Before we go into those, a few quick notes or whatever. First of all is, just as a follow-up to one of the videos I did earlier this week on Sunday, what I will probably be doing for the channel going forward is I'll probably be doing reviews on a set day of the week. I'll probably have all my reviews going out on a set day of the week, and you can expect one on Planet Apocalypse, which is why I'm talking about it now. I haven't officially decided, but likely Saturday. I'll likely just have however many reviews I'm doing will go up Saturday, and every other day of the week will be one video. Hopefully, I'm going to try to keep it to one video. Aside from that, most importantly, before we dive into the campaign, this is super important. I just want to make sure you're aware of this. First 48 hours only for this Planet Apocalypse pledge, you get this extra miniature. This is basically their logo. You will get this mini for the first 48 hours only. By the time you're watching this video, it's 24 hours left. So if you are in any way on the fence, if you are uncertain, if you're not sure whether you want this game, go ahead and back the project for $1. You can make up your mind later, you can figure it out, you can cancel your pledge, you can do whatever, but go ahead and back it for $1. And yes, the FAQ says pretty clearly, if I back within 48 hours for $1, am I still eligible? And the answer is yes. So before we even go into this video, make sure to get that, because if you don't back it, you will be looking at this later and you'll be so upset yourself and it'll turn you off. It'll be like, well, I could have backed day one and gotten that. I put out a whole video on like early bird pledges and pricing. There's all these stuff out there, but back this campaign if you think there's even a chance that you will want to back this over the next 14 days. With that, let's go into everything. So, return to Planet Apocalypse. This is not Planet Apocalypse, this is a re-Kickstarter, a new Kickstarter for the original game of Planet Apocalypse, which they did back in, well, I guess I don't know when they did it, but either way, this is Return to Planet Apocalypse. This is going to be bringing you more stuff. It's going to be bringing you new pledge levels for returning backers, new pledge levels for new backers, and they are even looking into doing full pledge levels for giving you all the Kickstarter exclusive content from the first game. They have all that stuff coming, so we'll see how that actually plays out. There'll be more updates, I'm sure, and if I don't do another dedicated video before the campaign ends, which I don't know if I'll be able to because of how many Kickstarters we have, but go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you catch the Monday updates. I generally update, some of the bigger news in terms of what's going on when I do my full Kickstarter roundup every Monday. In terms of Return to Planet Apocalypse, what is this game? What is the game Planet Apocalypse? So a quick overview of the actual game. The game basically has this whole hell on earth concept, it's some sort of doom and gloom and the world's self-destructing and demons or whatnot are slowly taking over Earth and you are defending them. You are defending Earth, you and these assorted heroes or anti-heroes or whatever you want to call them are defending Earth, and in each game you're going to have different maps. There's a variety of different maps, both in the base game there's different map setups and whatnot, as well as the expansions introduce different map setups that you can play around. And ultimately this game is tower defense. That's what this game is. It's pure tower defense. You have miniatures slowly invading along this path, and the path will be different in every game. You'll have slight variations in how the game plays out, but ultimately these minis are going to be invading along a path and you will be rolling dice to slaughter them, which sounds pretty, well, not exciting, right? And you would be right, except for the fact that there's upgrades. There's upgrades and upgrades galore. You have this whole upgrade track. Every character has a full track full of upgrades, and the way you upgrade those tracks is you buy these various cards over here that will go onto your upgrade track, giving you a dual upgrade. So you'll get both the upgrade of the actual card, as well as the upgrade on the player board, which just means if you are someone like me, who likes upgrades, who's a fan of just, powers and abilities and doing more stuff because upgrades are fun and cool, well, this game has a lot of that. And then throughout the game, this boss guy over here, this demon lord, is slowly going to be getting, well, he's not getting more powerful. He's going to start off super powerful. You are going to be getting more powerful while he gets closer. And at a certain point, you'll have to eventually basically enter hell time and fight him. And you'll probably lose initially, but then you'll come back later and you'll fight him and you'll figure it out. But at the end of the day, hopefully you will win or you will die trying. And you will face off against the, tiny little hordes full of demons that you have to face off against, or alternatively, these fourth step demons that you have to fight that are, well, they're a lot more work to deal with. They have these abilities that will make you go, how are we supposed to win? But you'll keep playing the game, you'll get better, and you'll figure it out. But that's basically the game. If you like the idea of tower defense meets tons of upgrades, that is Planet Apocalypse in a nutshell. It's tower defense with tons of upgrades. If you're wondering what the tower defense aspect is, you'll be picking up various militia, soldiers, troopers, or whatnot, army, that you'll be able to drop in these various zones along the way. And as the demons move into the zones, they'll be automatically attacked. And you want to make sure that you are not actually sitting in a zone with demons at the end of the turn, because they're not the hardest to kill if you plan your upgrades right, but they roll a lot of dice against you. So if you're left there with demons, you're going to be taking hits, and there's only so many hits you can take before you sadly die a horrible, gruesome death and reset and keep going. And that is basically the game. Return to Planet Apocalypse is giving you two things. First of all, it's giving you more content for that game, either if you're new to the genre, if you're new to this game, or alternatively, if you have the game, it's giving you new content, which there's already plenty of content if you want to buy it, but there's even more now. Additionally, it's giving you a 5th edition role-playing game or whatnot. It's giving you a role-playing addition to the Planet Apocalypse world, which I will not be covering that much because I don't know much about role-playing, and I'm not such a huge fan of role-playing, so the closest thing I can give you to, feedback or whatever is there's a role-playing game. If you're interested, check that out. If you like the Planet Apocalypse world and you like the idea of role-playing games, well, this might be for you. In terms of the board game, let's go into a few things. So, I'll start off by saying, in the terms of the should you back it, it's a pretty easy yes if you are interested in the game. Meaning, if the theme doesn't appeal to you, if the art doesn't appeal to you, if everything I just told you about this tower defense upgrade system doesn't appeal to you, then you probably shouldn't be backing this game. It doesn't matter how much of a good deal something is, it might just not be for you. In terms of it being a good deal, it's a pretty solid yes with some tiny caveats, and let's go through that. So the first thing I'm going to look at, because, well, ultimately it's the easiest, and I'll come back to this campaign and the pledge levels here, but I'm going to go through the little out of order, but I'm doing a should you back it, followed by the pledge levels. The first thing you want to look at over here is the Planet Apocalypse original campaign, because you want to get a feel for, well, what does this sell for? And this is going to be not much different than Cthulhu Wars, although I will say, while Peterson Games does have a lot of different games, I would say Planet Apocalypse and Cthulhu Wars are probably their most successful in terms of mass adoption and after-sale prices and whatnot. And this campaign over here, we had a $99 base pledge, a $159 pledge that gave you a few things, and a $279 pledge. And for that, the $99 base pledge, if you look at this base pledge over here, and you go to Board Game Geek sold prices, then you'll see over here that if you click through the Board Game Geek sold prices on Planet Apocalypse, while there are different amounts because there's different pledge levels that are being sold, if you click through to the details, basically most people, if not everyone, was getting their initial pledge back. Their initial $99 plus shipping, they were getting that back, or in some cases more. And that's because what you got for this is you got not only the Planet Apocalypse base game, which is on Miniature Market is $70 over here, but additionally you were getting all the extras as well, all the stretch goals that came with the campaign, and there were a decent amount of stretch goals that came with this campaign. Additionally, if we look at the higher pledge tiers, because in this campaign you'll want to look at the various higher pledge tiers, I'm going to skip straight to the $279. I'm not going to go all the way to the full, Lord pledge or Hellhound pledge or any of that, but going straight to the $279 pledge where you can just go through a few things that I picked up over here, this additional $180, that's $180 more than the base pledge, is getting you $233 worth of stuff. So $180 got you $233 worth of stuff, even including deep discounted pricing. What I did for that is for each item over here, each of these extras, I looked at the Miniature Market pledge, even if it is out of stock, meaning it's harder to get, but even if it's out of stock, I took that low price, and then I combined the ones I couldn't find with Peterson Games price. You were getting a fairly good deal on that $180, because that extra $180 got you $230 worth of stuff, and of course it got you it sooner than other people as well. So in terms of both the base pledge, and if you look at the Board Game Geek Marketplace, if you look at those higher value pledges, they basically, except for this one guy who basically just sold a large pledge for significantly cheaper than he needed to, most of these other options over here are all people selling their pledge levels above what they paid for it. This is a game that historically has held its value. In terms of this campaign, before we go into the pledge levels, in terms of Return to Planet Apocalypse, is that going to be any different? And the answer is maybe. Because what this game has going for it, well, first of all, this game over here, Planet Apocalypse, is an 8 point something. Where would you go? Planet Apocalypse, sorry, I've lost that. And I missed that over there. This is the awkward part of the conversation where I type on a computer while, hoping to get this, whatever. 8.5 on Board Game Geek for Planet Apocalypse, which is a decently well-rated game. But the only reason I can think why the second edition wouldn't do as well as the first edition in terms of the resale value is, first of all, many of those expansions are already available. Now, I already showed you the pricing is better here, but they are already available, which can diminish that hotness, that need to get it, that rush to the secondary market to immediately pick up a copy of Planet Apocalypse while you still can. Additionally, the game has been out already, which takes away a little bit of the hype. Definitely some of the hype is going to be gone because it's no longer the newest, greatest thing. Any form of disillusionment that people could have had. Even though it is an 8.5 on Board Game Geek, there will be people who have looked at the game and said, you know what, I was super excited on Kickstarter, but now that I've seen pictures on Board Game Geek, it just doesn't look like a kind of game for me. This doesn't look as exciting as the Kickstarter page, which maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But you can have that degree of, whenever you have a second printing, there is a degree of slight decrease in the excitement that goes on. Unless, of course, the game was super hard to get your hands on, such as Nemesis or Seventh Continent, in which case that second printing just has tons of hype associated with it. But in other words, my point basically is that this is not a perfect apples-to-apples comparison, but I don't see enough of a reason why it should be different that I believe everything you get in this campaign should hold its value. Which brings us to the pledge levels. Let's cover the pledge levels over here. So the pledge levels. To begin with, we have a $19 digital-only 5th edition or 5th edition RPG book, which that's the RPG. Then we have a $59 hardcore cover plus digital RPG book. For $69, we have the Board Game Veteran, and anything with the word Veteran is for existing backers or someone who has the core pledge, the core base game. Anything with the word Rookie or Recruit is someone who does not have that core base game. So over here, we have $69 will get you one. You know what? Let's go to the tiers over here. They do a better job showing you. So over here, in the tiers over here, this is what you get for $69. You get to choose one, either Nightmare Pack or Pack of the Crypt. And realize, by the way, that $69, if you look at Miniature Market, basically $69, $52, $48, those are all the price point of a single expansion for the Planet Apocalypse line because of that giant plastic amount of miniatures going on in the game. So that's, in terms of context, that's $69 plus shipping. We'll come to that. That $69 is giving you one of those big box expansions, but it's also giving you all the stretch goals, or what they call the Secrets of Hell, which are all the expansions that will basically be unlocked, all the extras and the goodies that will be unlocked throughout this campaign. So the Planet Apocalypse or the Pack of the Crypt, you can pick one of those, and there are pledge levels that will give you both. We'll come to that. And those will give you, a few new soldiers, a few new heroes or anti-heroes, a few new demons to fight, those fourth quarter demons. We have a few new lords to fight, and you could pick which ones. Maybe you're interested in the art, maybe you're interested in both, maybe you're interested in mechanics. Who knows? You can look into those. It'll give you regions, legions, and trooper cards. It'll give you maps. Both these options will give you maps. And then finally, we have the Lord Chronozone, this one. In addition to that, you get to pick a lord. So you get one of these two trees over here, and you get to pick one of these lords. So you can cross-pollinate or whatever it is you want. For $99, you get the Secrets of Hell. You basically get the Planet Apocalypse, the board game, plus all the stretch goals that are unlocked in this campaign. Keep in mind that $99 pledge, you can get Planet Apocalypse, the base game. Well, it's not in stock right here, but you can find it online. For $69.99, you can get the base game. So this $99 pledge, when you factor in shipping as well, you have to consider what are those extras you're getting. Although keep in mind, if you back in the first 48 hours, one of those extras will be that, Praying Mantis Lord. From there, we have the $179 pledge level, which will give you, let's skip this base pledge over here. The $179 pledge level will give you basically everything. It'll give you the Planet Apocalypse, both these two packs. It'll give you both the lords. It'll give you the Relic Pack 2, the Chaos Deck, and the Secrets of Hell stuff. That, if you're keeping track, that's $179 versus $69. So why not just get two tracks twice or whatnot? 69 plus 69 would be 70, 140. And the answer is that extra $40 is the cost of the Relic Pack and the Chaos Deck. And both those, if you scroll down to the pledge levels over here, to the optional buys, that Relic Pack is $39.99 and the Chaos Deck is $9.99. So this is basically giving you roughly a $10 discount on buying all those things separately. And then finally, we have the Board Game Recruit, which is all hells, which is for basically the same idea as the last one, but giving you that base game as well. It's giving you basically everything plus the base game for $249. That is what we have right now for the pledge levels, but there will be more. Peterson Games basically defines FOMO and gigantic pledge levels. I've given Nemesis a hard time for gigantic pledges. I've given Storm Thunder a hard time for gigantic pledges. But if you ever want to spend $700 or $1,000 on a single board game, well, Cthulhu Wars or Planet Apocalypse, those are great choices for that as well. Peterson Games has hordes of miniatures for you to get. And again, reminder, 48 hours, you want to get this Mantisipid, or whatever it is, because otherwise it's going to be, available to other people to buy. But if you want to get it for free, become a 48-hour backer. From there, let's go ahead and look at shipping. If I can find where the shipping is, here we go. There's a nice little shipping PDF that kind of consolidates everything depending on what you're getting. So first of all, kudos to them for making this ridiculously transparent. A lot of information. There's a little bit of a, you have to click on this to find the PDF, but they do have all the information here for what you're getting. And to begin with, let's cover the Board Game Veteran. The Board Game Veteran, for let's say if you're in the US, will cost you $18.93, and they break it up into the shipping, handling, and VAT. So they have all those things covered. But a handling of $3 plus shipping of roughly, I guess, $15 or whatever it is, brings you to $18.93 for that core option, which is a lot, but it does get pretty significantly better from there. If you're going to all the way to the All Hells Pledge level, then over here it's going to cost you basically $27.06 to get the all-in, or if you're getting basically both expansions, it's going to cost you $21.87. That's US back or whatnot. And the reason I bring up that discrepancy is because you might have been wondering, if it's a $10 savings to get this $179 pledge level, why don't I just get them separately, get the $69 twice, and I'll get the Manticipid twice? And the truth is you could. You will get the Manticipid twice. You will also probably end up paying shipping twice, although perhaps not depending on how they bundle it. So I don't know what Peterson Games' plan is as far as how they plan on avoiding that, but it's very possible you could look into. It may be better if you're looking at resale value and looking to sell that to someone else. It may be better to try to get 2 separate pledge levels and then split up your optional buys and try to get 2 Manticipids. Feel free to try that. I'm not getting involved, but I'm just pointing out that is an option. Just factor in your shipping prices and how that will affect your shipping prices. And with that, let's talk about VAT. VAT is something I don't talk about enough with campaigns because I take a very US focused approach, primarily because most of my audience is US, and also because most of my information and general knowledge and framework is coming from a US based approach because that's where I am. That being said, VAT is definitely an issue that we should talk about, and I'll be bringing it up more on different campaigns here and there, but when I bring it up, I will probably be referencing Peterson Games' own post about that because they had an amazing post over here all about that VAT on Kickstarter, and that can be found if you go to the FAQ and you click through to why is shipping so high, you can find their whole thing about it. And it's great. It's really worth a read. What it comes down to, before we get into that, and the reason we're talking about that is because, look at this, extra $35 for that game, an extra $49 for that all-in pledge, that $250, you're paying an extra $50. That's ridiculous. That's crazy. That makes it just straight up not worth it. And you might be right about that. And that's true, because before we get into the whole conversation about that, understand this. I am a huge advocate that as a consumer, as a backer of games, you should never back something that, well, not never. You should choose what to do, but from a financial stance, don't back a game that doesn't make sense to back. If you can get it cheaper later, get it cheaper later. If you want to support the creator, be my guest. If you just want to get it, if you don't want to deal with the FOMO, if you just don't care, do whatever you want. But I am 100% an advocate for the idea that if the financial aspect of a game matters to you, buy it or back it at the cheapest price that makes sense for you. At the same time, I'm also an advocate for companies to do what makes sense for them. I run a company. I know what it's like to basically have to barely make payroll, to have to deal with barely paying myself. I know what it's like to run a company, and a company has to make the decisions that make sense for the company. And by the way, even if those decisions involve basically ripping you off, if that makes sense, if that is something that makes sense for them, if they have enough demand, enough audience, and people are willing to pay for that price, do what they need to do. I'm not into this whole company is a public whatever. I think everyone should do what makes sense for them. Sometimes that means a company should charge more than they can get away with because people will pay it. And in many cases, that means someone shouldn't pay it because it doesn't make sense to. My goal or my vision or whatever you want to call it is to give the advice that makes sense for everyone. I will happily tell you as a backer not to back a game at a certain price and then turn around and tell a company, well, you should charge that price because they're going to back it anyway. I am interested in giving the best advice for everyone involved, you, myself, and companies. In terms of VAT, the basic premise of VAT is that there is a tax being charged. This whole post goes into it. I highly recommend reading into it. But basically, VAT is a tax, and it's a tax someone is going to pay. Whether the company absorbs it, that's possible. They can sell games at a loss or at a lower profit margin, which they can certainly do so, but they are under no obligation to do so. Or they can charge everyone a little bit more to balance it out, because saying, hey, we're going to charge everyone an extra $5, and it'll balance out between the US backers and the European backers, it'll all balance out. Or they could charge us directly to the people getting those games. All of those are valid options. I know that US backers would probably prefer that they don't get an extra fee on their game. I know that European backers would prefer not to pay that fee. I know that the company would probably prefer not to suck up an extra 20% on a game. Every single person involved in this discussion doesn't want to absorb that fee. I completely get that. And I resent no one for not wanting to absorb that fee. At the end of the day, that on Kickstarters or any price, shipping, taxes, Any single credit card charges, anything you do, meaning in terms of the international fee when you back something internationally and pay a credit card exchange, whatever, any single one of these things is a factor in your purchasing decision and what you should do. It doesn't mean Peterson Games should charge less. It doesn't mean Flourish, which I just missed on talking about this in another campaign, should charge less. Companies need to do what they need to do. Companies might choose to do more than they need to do, and you as a backer should respond accordingly. If that means you're a European backer who has to back out because the VAT makes it not sustainable, I get it. I feel bad. I was in Canada for the first 22 years of my life, and I know what it's like to pay extra fees or have less availability. Granted, Canada was probably not as bad as Europe in terms of buying from the US, but it still wasn't fun. I still shuttle things to my family whenever I visit Canada. I still have to bring things across the border to my family because it's just cheaper and easier to get shipped to the US and have it taken across the border than shipping it all the way across the border. It is annoying. It is frustrating. I sympathize. There are no easy answers. That's what it comes down to with that. There are no easy answers, and as with everything else in my content, I recommend making the decision that makes the most sense for you. That might mean not backing, and that's unfortunate. And with that giant thing about VAT aside, let's go back to the campaign. And so, to sum everything up, just bring it full circle, because this map's a circle. See what I did there? This is a giant, epic, sprawling tower defense game where you're going to roll dice, slaughter miniatures, upgrade your character, and it's going to cost you somewhere between $70 if you just want to get a retail version somewhere else, versus as much as $500, $700 by the time the all-in on this campaign is done. Most of those things, if not all, will hold their value to a degree, but I will say the more complicated and nuanced your pledge gets, the harder it's going to be to find that perfect buyer. If you stick there with, a basic pledge of, let's say, the Hellhound, am I in the right campaign? I think I missed campaigns. I skipped to the wrong campaign over here. If you back one of the core pledge levels, one of the core pledges, one of the options in terms of the all-in, the deluxe all-in, one of the main things, without going into all this nuance, I'm going to get the base game plus this expansion plus this, those will typically be easier to sell because someone will do a direct monetary comparison. They'll say, hey, you know what, that whole thing cost you $180 to get all that, or maybe you bought the $249 pledge, cost you $249, you're asking $330, you know what, it's the cheapest I'll find, I'll just go ahead and buy it. As soon as you do a deep dive into the various add-ons of this and add-ons of that and going with that, it does become a little bit harder to actually piece it out and sell it to someone, but still doable, just slightly harder. And that's basically it. If you are interested in this game, it is one that will almost certainly hold its value, at least for a decent amount of time. The Planet Apocalypse one certainly has to a degree, and there's going to be a lot of extras in this, and go ahead and first and foremost, if you are in any way uncertain, back now and just set a reminder for 13 days from now to cancel your dollar pledge, because getting this is a big deal. It's not a huge deal, certainly not worth $39, but it is going to be worth more money, and it's one that you're going to probably want and might otherwise disincentivize you to back it. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope you enjoyed this Kickstarter, and get ready for a very action-packed week, because it's just not going to stop anytime soon. Until next time, have a good one.